Yo, what's good? It's your boy Tony Concep. We live. This is my second installment. I'm gonna take you through another Procreate tutorial. This time I'm using a tutorial that I created for the Sketchy app. Sketchy is a dope platform. Salute to them. Sketchy, they basically take user-generated content from instructors, artists. They make their videos themselves, and they have a whole community of courses and different things that you can check out, like watercolors, drawing. Of course, with me, it's definitely Procreate. So appreciative of that, man. I had a couple of those, and I thought it'd be dope to share those with you today. With this process, this one goes into a bit of a more in-depth look at how I put my layers together. The previous video I made, I only had 7 layers because I accidentally made my camera size too large. So in Procreate, the larger you make your canvas size, the limited amount of layers you get. I don't remember exactly how many layers I got in this one, but it's definitely more than 7. Today, the image that we're gonna use is gonna be this one. I thought this was a dope image because in the original reference, she has some ill hand shadows behind her, and as you can see in the final product, I took those and made them more of a graphic feel. So without saying too much, man, thank you for checking out these videos. I'm trying to figure out what I can do. I need to hear from you and figure out how to tweak these, make them doper. And I want to see the work that you do, after you watch these. If you got your Procreate and your Apple Pencil game on point, I want to see what you're doing. Let's keep it rocking, man. Again, life is art. Thank you. Salute. See you. So basically, if you're just getting started, you're just trying to kind of figure out your way. This method essentially is like, to me, it's more like collage than your traditional drawing. And with Procreate, making your layers is, really one of the great things about it, because you can kind of almost treat it like a Photoshop file. If I were to start a new project, I'd hit the plus sign here, hit the black plus, and I generally, I work in inches, so I generally make my projects the size that I want to print them. So if I was going to do a 22 by 30 print, I'd make this a 22 by 30 with a DPI around 150 to 300, contingent on, your max layers. You can have 41 layers here, it says, but the larger sizes you go, there's a limit to your layers. So if you make like I don't know, like a 60-inch piece or something like that, you may be limited to 7 layers. But I'm gonna cancel that because I already kind of started a project here. And to get your reference, of course, you just go to Canvas. You're gonna click on the references button. That's gonna then create this pop-up, and then you can either reference your canvas, your image, or a face. So I chose this image because I really like, what's going on with the color here. Like her blue hair. I believe this image is from Maggie. I hope I got your name right. But it's a dope image. The blue and the white striping, it just makes like for some really great contrast. And essentially, if you're just getting started out, you can import, the photograph into your painting, into your, canvas, and then you can just essentially work over it, which is like an easy way to kind of get started. And in my layering process, I've already kind of did like an underdrawing for this one. So I just take all of the darkest areas, and I'll find those and kind of go on top of it and get a loose sketch going. This is the part where you really can use your own autonomy. You can really use your own autonomy. You can, be more free with your sketch, or you can be really tight and get it exact. But I just like to kind of get down all of the black areas first. And for this process, we're going to actually leave in the under reference, and I have it at about 56% on normal. And then my layer that I actually did my drawing on, I love using the 6B pencil, because it just gives me like a nice real feel. The sketch feel, like when you kind of zoom in on it, it gives you like a really, really nice line. So as I'll make a few other little lines here, and I tend to use, the side of the pencil
to kind of get more of a soft feel. And I kind of work my way in and just kind of fill out, where my shading is going to go, where some of the dark points like start and stop. And here you see there's like a really large black area, and we can fill that in with paint or some other type of brush to kind of give it a cool look. But yeah, I like to get these like dark areas in first, and that's my main layer. And I use that layer to start kind of working beneath, because after you kind of get this layer, you can go in and start, building up. So this is kind of what I call the final layer, your black layer. So I think I got a pretty decent like underdrawing kind of started here. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna grab this palette. So in grabbing the palette, you go to your circle up here, press plus, and then I'm gonna grab it from a photo. I'm gonna find that photo. I got it right here, and then that creates a palette based on that photo, which is really cool because then I can start grabbing some of the blues and the whites and different things. So what I like to do, I have a number of palettes here. I'll kind of like save all of my palettes from other drawings, and most of the time I'll go in with white and I'll start kind of putting in kind of like layers of white where I think that's gonna live. And you see I have this layer beneath. Actually, I need to make a layer. Let's make this layer. Let's go back here. I'm gonna put a layer beneath that black. So now that I have that, I can kind of go in with this kind of off-white. It's not exactly white, but I'm going with that off-white, and I'm gonna start making some areas of white, some brighter areas that I feel I'll be to go back and kind of layer under. So you have your teeth and some of your brighter spots on the lips and brighter points in the face. And of course I'm still using the 6B. The 6B kind of allows you to get some really detailed areas, smaller areas. So I like to go in with that, and see you make a mistake, you can kind of just erase it pretty quickly. And I'm gonna go in. I think these streaks of hair aren't necessarily white, they're kind of like nice tint, but already you can see with my black that I added in, once I start working like lighter color next to it, it already begins to kind of blend itself in. I see there's a little something on the nose here. And I tend to work light to dark because this is a layering process. So I'll even leave areas that I know I'm going to actually go under open after I get some of my white in. And this is a super white, so I'm going to just only hit the areas that are like super white. So you see like kind of inside of her sweater here, there's like a lot of really bright sections. And then I could always go in and I can actually add a brighter white behind it or on top of it. But we're just gonna make some lines, and that's the best thing about Procreate. You can really kind of be free, and I like to be a little abstract with my lines because eventually we want these to look a little more painterly, and I'm going to show you how I achieve that in a second. But getting all these lines in, we got some movement, a little language going with the lines. And I'm seeing here in the reference, there's some bright spots or some harder lines. The hair comes down. And we just really want to bring all of that out, highlight it. I don't really worry too much about, going out of the line or I don't worry too much about making any mistakes at this point, because we could always go back in and kind of erase And once I have like that layer kind of down, then I want to start getting some skin tones in. So I'm going to create another layer behind my white. And for this layer, I'm going to use another favorite. I have this, see, the Oriental brush is really nice. And with this brush, sometimes like, let's see if I have a color. If I don't have a color in this palette, what you can do is you can hold down the area, and you see the circle, this ring will pop up. And essentially, that ring is selecting whatever color is there. So as you can see, like in her cheek, it's like a really pink. So we're gonna take that Oriental brush, and I'm gonna just imagine, where some of that pink's gonna go. I see I kind of went a little light there. So I'm gonna dial that back. I'm just gonna hit a couple spots. That one I got a little too heavy on. And I'm just gonna see where that goes. And if you select here, see it's a little darker. It's a little darker, and maybe I'll put something a little dark there. And this kind of like, the reason why I like this brush is because it really blends well. So if I hit a spot and I make it a little too dark or something like that, I can go in back in with a white or a lighter color and just add. So this is a part like of my process where I'm looking for those little subtle little like areas of light and dark, and I'm just adding stuff to kind of give it a cool feel. But they're all around the same. I try to keep these all around the same contrast level. Like I want them to all kind of be the same contrast level. So maybe for the lips, I'm gonna do a different layer because it's a different contrast level here. It's a little darker, so let's add a little color into the lips. Let's blow that up. And see, we got a really pink right here. So it's like right now, it's almost like your coloring book, and your layer of white is on top and your layer of black's on top, so you really can't, go too wrong. Maybe those lips aren't as pink as they are there, but we're gonna make them that way. And I'm gonna grab some of this darker pink and hit a couple spots. This is almost like a gray. Put a little bit of that in there. Can I get that gray cooking? And I'm already liking what I'm seeing here, because it's like, I'm gonna go back to my light layer. I'm gonna grab this, and another brush that I use, the stucco brush, is texturally, it's like really nice. You can kind of see what texture that is. Gives like a really nice like soft texture. A lot of times for girls in like makeup and stuff like that, that's a really nice texture. Once again, that is the stucco brush, and maybe I'll add a little bit of that in there. And once you start adding that in, it kind of, you start to get more of a like a painterly feel. And again, this is like, I look at it like it's, collage. It's like it's not traditionally drawing. You're definitely working on a digital drawing, and that's why it's interesting to have that background image in and kind of work on top of it and build your colors on top of it. So let's start another layer and let's see what this blue looks like. There's a lot of cool blue in that palette I grabbed. Let's see, this one's like kind of like a weird, like a darker blue. I'm still with the stucco brush. I kind of like what that vibe is. I'm gonna lay down some darker areas of the blue, and then maybe I'm gonna find a lighter. I'm still not seeing the blue that I want here. Like I kind of want to, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna grab some of that. Yeah, and there you go. And you're starting to already see like it has like a really like crayon-y type of vibe to it. And of course you can adjust your sizes here. I adjust my sizes often. Like I go, back and forth and resize and reshape my brushes. And it's just to give me a a lot of different looks. Like one brush, if I make it, huge, you can get that much coverage. But then if you make it tiny, you get these nice, like, kind of pencil-y looking lines. And it's pretty cool. So let's see here. I'm going a lot lighter in my reference. So I'm going to grab a little bit of blue from here. And let's go with, why not try this, that old oily brush? No. I'm going to go back to my 6B. Because, actually, let's try some soft pastels. The soft pastels are going to give you a lot of coverage. Unless you break it down like I did. And I want to kind of get like some sketchy lines in here. This is like, make sure my layer is broken down. See what that's looking like. Pull out and kind of check out my drawing. I noticed that there's a lot of dark blue in here in this area. So pull some of that. The hair kind of like swoops in over here. So let's get some of that going. Around my outline is a little dark. Actually, I'm gonna back up because I went a little too hard there. Nope. And I'm gonna go back to my, so brushes. I'm gonna say this, right? Building up your brush catalog is paramount, and for me, I got a lot of brushes that are graffiti, like spray can nozzles, drips, and I'll get into some of that stuff. I kind of like use that toward the end of my drawings to kind of give them more of a vibe. But anytime I see brushes via Instagram or I see them, and right now I'm just experimenting with a couple of different brushes, not finding anything I really like. I'm gonna go back to my, let's see here. Let's go back to, the 6B for a second. But with the brushes, like I said, finding your brush catalog and building that is gonna be, one of those tools that is really gonna help define your language. For me, it wasn't until I started really finding some of the brushes that I thought that worked for me the best, and things that kind of cater to the style of art that I like. So I looked for a lot of real paint feeling brushes, and then you start to mix those in with some of the brushes that you get via the Procreate app, and you start to get a little robust type of collection going, and it helps out. So let's see, it's like a little gray. I might put a little gray in here. I'm just kind of having fun, like abstract, with this hair. And what I'm gonna do is, since my hair is so light, I'm gonna go to the layer in the adjustments. It's this second button right here, and I'm gonna go to hue saturation. I'm gonna select the entire layer, and then I can kind of look at what I'm doing. I can darken up that blue. I can change the hue of it. So if you wanted it a little bit more purple, a little bit more green. So right now I'm gonna push it. Let's keep it pretty blue. Let's darken this up. We're gonna saturate it a little bit. Saturate this a little bit more. Maybe I went too dark. And I'm just adjusting it, just kind of like seeing what it looks like, because I can actually put another layer under this, and let's see if we multiply that layer, what it looks like, if it gives in any. And I do this all the time with the work. I change the opacity, and I change the style. So once again, if you go here, you click this button right here, the N, and that's going to be normal. But then when you multiply it, you kind of get a nice real feel. You start to see some of the strokes in there, so I may multiply that, but for now, just looking at, you know, what it all kind of looks like. And you could always like use this to be free in terms of changing your color and, you know, what you're doing. And I want to put a layer like a blue under this, because right now I'm getting a lot of white and a lot of kind of gray. So let me grab my oil pastel and I'm gonna pick, let's see here, let's pick a blue, and I want to start to kind of go behind here and darken in some of this stuff a little bit. And then let's go to that layer. I'm gonna punch that a little green. I kind of like the way that's looking. I might brighten it up a little bit. I'm gonna take that layer down. I want to see what it looks like without what I'm doing. So just looking at the layer. All right. And I'm already thinking about what I want to do. Like if I want to add some splashes of paint, or, you know, any different other ideas. I'm already starting to kind of get that in my head. I'm going to change the color balance here because I still feel like I'm not blue enough. So I'm going to bump up this blue. Actually, is my layer selected? Yep. And let's see if I go color balance, layer. I'm going to pull a little bit of the yellow out of it. And I'm going to push a little bit more blue into it. All right, I'm starting to kind of like what that's looking like. Okay, and I'm starting to see here. Let's go back and we're gonna make another layer and start to get a little bit more of these pink spots and stuff like that. So I'm actually gonna bump up my underdrawing a little bit, because I'm gonna go to 65%, because now that's gonna give me a little bit more, some more darker areas that I need to address. So let's see here. Kind of like what I just did right there. Sometimes you get these little accidents. Sometimes I leave them in. Let's see here. Let's make another layer kind of closer to the bottom. And for this brush, let's go soft pastel. And I'm looking at this like pink color. I want to put some of that in there. Some darker, like little areas of. And once again, this is beneath the layer, so it's not really going over anything that I've already done. I'm kind of like working underneath and putting some dark, you know, spots, like getting a little bit of that darker color in there. It looks like a kind of darker gray color. I want that. I want to get some of that in there. Little shading. And a lot of stuff is like really nuanced, so it's like what you see might not be what's there, but I think that's what's fun about it, man. You know, you just kind of like, I had an art teacher that said, you know, if you want to draw a picture like a photograph, just go take a photograph of it. So I've always kind of been into the guys. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna go back into the hair because I like that brush. I'm gonna darken up some areas. But yeah, I always, you know, work with the guys of, you know, it's not a photo, it's a piece of art. So give it your energy and, you know, make it something a little different than it actually is, you know. And that's what I really feel. Oops, mistake there. I feel like, you know, that's art. You know, when you're starting off as an artist, developing your language and coming up with who you are is paramount. You know, if you get a style or a certain technique of doing something, you know, that's what we're trying to master and hone. You know, hone is our craft. We're trying to come up with, you know, what defines us. And, you know, for me, like a lot of the freedom of it is what I like the most. I got a lot of white here, so I'm going to take down a little bit of that white. And since I'm on my white layer, I'm going to grab my 6B pencil, and I'm going to do a little bit of detail with some light blue. Some light streaks. Let's get some of that going in so you see a little bit more of those fine lines. And I think for like this black, all right, let's go back to this black layer. I'm gonna go to my calligraphy brushes, and let's see, I'm gonna get some type of, let's try the chalk brush in black. I think I grabbed that one. I'm gonna make that big, and we're just gonna fill in quickly some of these lines. Fill in some of the sections I made. You can always drag, like when there's a closed area like this in Procreate, if you have a closed area, say this circle, you can always drag your dot into that area and it'll color it. I don't use it as much. I like to just the old school method of just kind of scribbling in. But since I already got those hands there, I'm just gonna fill that in. I'm not gonna go like too exact. Kind of just like a little style, a little vibe to it. And with this method, you know, you can go, you know, as far as you want to take it. Sometimes, you know, it's really about, you don't want to just, you know, I guess trace over everything. You want to have your own language in there. So once you get to a point where you want to drop out your under drawing, you could always drop it out and embellish. Like, you know, say you knock it out and you might just want to go beneath to your last layer here. Sometimes I'll do this a lot. I'll just make a layer right under the drawing, and then I'll grab, like, say, let's see here, we'll grab the artist crayon, and let's just throw a big blue line in here and see what it looks like. So maybe you'll just, for some texture or something like that. In this case, I'm going to do a big white line. I think that'll be rad because we kind of have like the white from her sweater. I'm just going to throw a little white in there. Just leave it. And I actually like what's going on with that, so I'm going to fill in some more areas with that white beneath there, that white layer beneath there. And to give it a little more contrast, let's throw in a gray to kind of bump it out. Even though it's not necessarily what she's wearing, I'm just going to throw some gray in the back there just to, you know, give it a little more vibe. And you see those colors are starting to mix. Let me go back to my black layer. Okay, let's put a little bit more. I got the crayon, but here I'm gonna switch my oil pastel. Nope, not my oil pastel. Let's go back to my calligraphy. And I was using the chalk. Of course, you know, if I do adjust any brushes, I try to do those beforehand. Because I kind of like to keep the ebb and flow of my work going, so I don't want to stop and adjust brushes. But also adjusting your brushes is a dope way to, you know, it's a really dope way to kind of start to come up with your own steez and language if you use a specific brush shape or style. But looks like I'm losing some of that, but that's fine. I'll just go over that. We got these hands. Let's get those in there. I really love this reference because I just like how she used the shadow of the hands to kind of create, you know, a whole nother depth and kind of say something with this portrait. You know, it's like she's in the forefront and somebody's like behind her trying to like grab at her or something. It's kind of dope. But as you can see, we're already starting to get something with the under reference, the reference we have under here. And I'm gonna go back to these lips because looking at my lips here on the sketch, I'm gonna throw another layer. I love layers. And I want, let me see if I have that color. I want like kind of like a pinkish, real pink kind of, make those lips red. Might be too red. But they are. And I'm just kind of like having fun, just kind of like spreading them around and see what that looks like. Could always adjust the color. You know, you remember you could always adjust the color and the opacity. I'm gonna drop this behind here and see what it looks like kind of behind here. Kind of like it on the top. So if we multiply it, I'm gonna mess with my layers really quick. I'm gonna lighten that. That's kind of interesting, like an overlay. We do an overlay, and then I'm gonna go to my brightness, grab the layer. Maybe I'll just punch it down a little bit. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, and that changes like the whole vibe right there. Put a little bit more in there so you can kind of see the fullness of the lips. It's another like really nice color pop in this piece, like the red on her lips and then the blue in the hair, so that makes it kind of like the main vibe. There's some information in his hat up here. I like to just I'm gonna add a plus here. I'm gonna drop that up. And for the information in the hat, I just want to throw a little blue in there just so you can kind of know there's something there, but we don't necessarily know what's written on there. But I'm just gonna, let's see, it's kind of like a light. Get a little bit of that and grab whatever that is. Yeah, so it's like a cool little label. And I'm liking what I'm seeing here. So now let's add a background and let's just kind of give it some texture. I'm gonna take out some of this information around her, right? So we don't need, you know, everything in this background anymore, but we're gonna keep using it because it's kind of like our you know, it's our sketch aid here for this particular exercise. You see, I kind of went in. I'm not worrying about that. I kind of went in a couple spots. I can always go back and clean that up. I'm gonna take out some of the stuff in her shirt here. It's gonna be kind of cool. And what I do, I keep a collection. I save a whole collection of like backgrounds. So I'm gonna import a background, which is a piece of like a paper background. I like to collect textures of paper. So I'm gonna go here and we're gonna go add. Let's insert a photo and my albums. Oh, what did I just do wrong? Let's go to albums. Oh, my pen is working. My pen, I need a new nib right now, and it's been giving me a headache. So I got paper backgrounds. Let's pick one of my favorites here, and as you can see, it's just a bunch of different textures, cardboard and all that. Of course, you have to adjust the DPI if you want to get that text really right. So I'm putting that background in. We're gonna drop that all the way behind our image. We're gonna make our image. We're gonna multiply our image so this kind of works as a part of the drawing at this point. Excuse me. And then we're gonna now you guys start to see like some of the strokes and the brush strokes and the different things you put in there kind of come to life. And we can kind of start adding and subtracting from that. So let's see here. From when I usually get to this stage, I start playing around with, you know, okay, I multiply that layer. Let's see, for my white layer, maybe I'll lighten it, see what it looks like lighter, color dodge to bump it up a bit more. If we really want high contrast, let's see, the overlays is nice. In this case, let's see what the hard mix looks like. That's a little too much. I think I'm just gonna keep it's normal. I'm gonna bump it down a little bit, 5% maybe. My black layer, I always multiply as well because you know, depending on how you drew it, you know, you kind of see more paper, more paper through it, and then from this point, I'll create layers behind, you know, right above my face, and I'll just start playing around with different colors. Like if I want to add, let's see, some pink, or there's a line right there. I don't think I want a line, but let's try. Let's just put some this original effects. I'm gonna have to give you guys a link. This is a great brush set that I got that just has a ton of different, like, you know, sprays and graffiti you know, aerosol tips and different things like that. And I use that frequently. And let's see here. Let's see. So this one's kind of like a light spray. I want to add that light spray up to the top into the areas where I see there's a lot of pink. I'm gonna add some of those, and actually I'm gonna bring this layer up above the white. So you start to see some of that stuff. And already you kind of see I'm getting some textures, some splatter, some splash. I might not want it all. But I'm also seeing here, I'm gonna go back to my white layer. And when you put the paper texture behind you, then you can really start to see, you know, where you need to add some highlights. So I'm already seeing here, I'm gonna get a light pink and right in this eye. It's not the brush I want, but I'm gonna go back to my tried and true 6B. Hope I'm not getting way too much for you guys. I'm just gonna add a little bit of light to the areas that need it, you know, around the eye, the eyelid, kind of start bringing that stuff out. There's a little bit of light in there. On the nose, there's a brighter spot. So you kind of just, you know, you just kind of play around with it and until you get what you want. And maybe you want a little more shine on the lips. That layer that I did those splatters on, I think I went a little too crazy. So let's take a little bit off the lips right here so we can still see what we got. Yeah, let's see that. A little bit too much on the lips. And let's see here, I got something going on here. I'm gonna erase that. All right, and now for the hair, I want to start adding more layers of paint, and I'm gonna get some drips going in there. Let's see, maybe not a white drip. Let's find a nice blue. Oh, something. It's not right here. Okay, I'm gonna turn my brush up. That's what it is. Okay, boom, there it goes. So I'm gonna turn this brush up, and maybe I'm just gonna find a place to tuck in a few drips here, like just to give it a little bit more vibe. This usually takes me a while because I kind of like pick and choose and place, you know, where these go. Let's see here. That's probably, I want that to fall somewhere right in there. And then I realized I need to pull that behind my hair so it kind of blends in a little bit more. Maybe I pulled that too far. It has to go above this. And let's put it kind of like, you know, one more layer up. And I'm gonna move my hair above that layer. Let's see what that looks like. Do I like it right there? I'll keep my highlights. All right, I'm just dropping that there. Let's see here, what else we got? I'm gonna add a little bit of splatter to it because it's kind of static. That splatter can go you know, in and around her character, her, not character, but her face. And let's get some cooler stuff here. Let's go with white. Make a new layer up top. Already kind of got one cooking. I like how that's rocking. A little bit of, put a little bit of spray right there. Get that. Maybe on the hat. I don't know, that's kind of dope. And you know what? I want to give this a little bit more steez. So over the hair, I'm just gonna grab a blue and my sketch, my 6B, and I'm just gonna maybe put a little graffiti or something, a little tag there, a little star here, you know, just to give it some some language. And now I'm gonna go down, and I like to always kind of like, I tend to put a little watercolor layer. So I'm gonna go, let's see here, it's fine. Painting, let's go to watercolor brush. I love the blue that's in her hair and the blue in the background. So I'm just gonna take a watercolor brush, and I'm gonna just put a fat like layer of watercolor to kind of wrap around his hand, and not like too particular on how I'm doing this. And then from that layer, I'm gonna take that layer, I'm gonna multiply that because we want it to sink into that page right there. So there you go, it kind of sinks in. The black layer, let's duplicate it and see what it looks like if we go even darker. I kind of like that. It's making it, kind of makes it a little like darker. I'm actually not sure. I like to see what we have going on in the black there. So I'm gonna duplicate it, and then the areas that I like the face, I'll keep, but then I'm gonna erase here because I like what's going on in just like some of the line work, some of the little nuances you see in the black, like in the hands and stuff like that. But I'm gonna keep it on the face because I like that face to be nice and dark. And then, you know, you can always go in, like, a lot of times I'll go in with like a little, let's see, you know, I may go in with another pop color or something. In this case, I'll go in with a light blue, and, you know, say the world is a playground. All right, flap, throw that there. It's on my black layer, but, you know, I can keep it or get rid of it. But yeah, basically, that background, I think I still have it at 65%. You can always adjust it. And, you know, for me, I think I got a pretty good likeness. I can go in and touch up more. But all in all, it's got like a nice, like, cool feel to it now. It's like it's got kind of like a real painterly, you know, wheat paste type of vibe to it. You know what I mean? I think, let me see. Take out some of my words there. I just like that. And that's it. So the next tutorial I'll do, I'm gonna do something similar. I think we're gonna maybe, you know, work a little bit more on more layers, and more depth of field in terms of color. This face is kind of a little flatter, but I did get to show you guys kind of how my process is starting off with a black layer, using white, and then adding some color, and then using my transparencies to give that real paper feel with the paper background. I think that's it. So thanks you guys for checking out my stuff, man. And I want to see what you do. I want to see you do this image and how dope you make it, because I'm sure you can make it doper than this, man. You know, I want to see it. All right, peace.